Hey everybody, today I'm going to go over documents C, D, E, and F on DBQ Online so that you can be comfortable with doing your DBQ. All right, so this is document C. So if you look at this, it's water use by sector, and what they mean by sector is area or region, a division. So we've got three sectors here: domestic, industry, and agriculture. The blue bar is agriculture, the green bar is industry, the orange bar is domestic. If you look, you're going to see that the green bar is growing throughout the years. The orange bar is growing throughout the years. The blue bar goes back and forth. Sometimes it shrinks, sometimes it grows. So, approximately how many billion cubic meters of water did China consume in 1980, and how much is it expected to use by 2030? So they consumed approximately 450 billion cubic meters of water in 1980. And by 2030, that number is expected to increase to about 830 billion cubic meters of water. And that, notice I put document C in parentheses after that. That's so that when I go and I'm writing my DBQ, I have two sentences already written if I choose to use those. And my sentences are even with my cited sources, which is awesome. From 1980 to 2005, which sectors experienced an increase in demand? Well, we saw that the domestic and industry grew from 1980 to 2005. In fact, they grew the entire time. But what shrank? If you look here, the blue in 2005 is less than 1980. And is less than 1993. So from 1980 to 2005, agriculture's demand stayed about the same or shrank. In 1949, 97% of the water used in China went towards the agricultural sector. 1% went to the industrial sector, and 1% went to the domestic sector. By 2030, as a percentage of total use, approximately how much is each sector expected to use? I've gone through the math with everybody at this point, pretty sure. So it's about 50% agriculture, 34% industry, 16% domestic. It can go back and forth on either side by about 2%, depending on how you read it. I'm not going to go over questions 4 and 5 because these are like your thought process questions. There is no correct answer as long as you're using your reasoning and your thought processes. Document D is a donut chart. 2030 forecasted industry demand for water. So we see a whole bunch of industries. These are all industries, and how much of the donut each one covers. Notice power is the largest. Power means electricity. And then there's a reading. Coal-fired power plants are not just bringing light to rural villages. That means that coal-fired power plants are not just providing electricity to villages that didn't have it. They're also powering the factories, giving electricity to the factories that make up China's exploding or growing manufacturing base. In the past year, China has added generating capacity, so the amount of electricity that is equal to the entire of France's electricity grid. So in 1 year, China added the same amount of electricity to their country as France had total. That's huge. In document C, you saw that by 2030, China's industrial sector is expected to consume 265 billion cubic meters of water per year. What are the major industries in China that are reliant on water? That's pretty easy. Power, metals and mining, chemicals, food and beverage, pulp and paper, textiles, manufacturing. Which industry in particular is expected to use the largest share of water? Well, which section is the largest? That would be power. According to the NPR article, what is the relationship between coal-fired power and other Chinese industries? So we know that coal-fired power is what gives electricity to the other industries. Without the coal-fired power, those other industries couldn't operate because they depend on electricity. And then number 4, once again, in what way is industrial development driving China's water scarcity crisis? I'm not going to go over that with you because that is your opinion. That is your argument. Document E. Over the past 3 decades, despite great efforts to control it, water pollution has increased. Okay? Domestic wastewater. So I'm going to circle that. Domestic wastewater discharges. So what that means, I didn't want another circle. Domestic wastewater discharges. So toilets, sinks, bathtubs, washers, dishwashers. That's what it's referring to. So domestic wastewater is the water that you get rid of after you use it in toilets, sinks, bathtubs, washers, dishwashers. So all the dirty, nasty water that you get rid of in your house have surpassed, that means been larger than industrial discharges since 1999. So what's saying is that people are getting rid of more water from their houses than factories are getting rid of. A major contributing factor is that only 56% of municipal sewage is treated in some form. All right, so it's more that the industrial discharges, we're talking about pollution, right? So industrial pollution is more likely to get clean than household pollution. Only 56% of sewage, that's the stuff coming from houses, the stuff in orange, is treated. To be treated, it means it's able to be used again. So what it's saying is that we're dumping 44% of the poop and the pee and the dirty water from your dishwasher and things like that. It's just getting dumped straight into lakes and rivers. With lagging growth in wastewater treatment facilities, including sewage, about 20 billion cubic meters of untreated wastewater is directly discharged, directly dumped into bodies of water. That's a huge problem. Now, non-point pollution, that is things that are not specifically dumped into waterways, but it makes its way there anyway. So that's like, you know, when it rains and dirt gets washed into the street and leaves and stuff get washed into the street from your yard, the water carries that stuff. Well, now imagine that the water is picking up stuff you can't see. It's picking up fertilizer. It's picking up pesticides, things that are not good for the water. They're good for grass. They're good for crops, but maybe not so good for fish and things like that. That stuff is getting picked up by the rain and being washed into the rivers and lakes. And that's not a good thing. So, and they're saying that's completely out of control as well. So, this orange, like this yellow tan color, that is water that is completely unusable in any form. It is so polluted, you can't use it for anything. Green, that's water that's safe for like to use to water crops. It's safe to use in an industrial setting, like to cool down equipment and stuff like that. It is not safe for people to just drink. Blue is what's safe for people to use to eat, drink, cook, and bathe in. Do you guys see the problem here? So according to the document, what are the main sources of water pollution in China? Well, we saw that the main sources of water pollution in China are household waste. The major shift that has taken place since 1999, That's that it has shifted from being a major source being factories to a major source being houses. Non-point pollution is pollution that's not dumped directly in, but it's washed in by the rain and things like that. Water quality at a level 5 or higher just means that the water is not safe for any use. How does water quality in the north compare to water quality in the south? So it looks like the water quality in the north is way worse than water quality in the south. The second part of the question and number 5 are things you need to answer on your own because they're your findings, they're your ideas. All right, we're to document F. So this one was really hard, I thought. So I reworded it over here. Water prices should be higher based on how much water is available. China's water prices are not. The government makes water prices low. Prices do not cover the cost of the water supply. Supply is much less than demand. Houses only spend 1% of their money on water. Houses should spend 2% or more on water to encourage people in China to use less water. In many countries, water costs 4% of a family's money. Low water prices means people don't care about saving the water. So historically, water prices in China have been set by the government. And this is different than market-determined pricing because it means they're artificially low. The supply is low, the demand is high, so prices should be high. But the government's purposely setting them low. How does household spending on water in China compare to household spending in developed countries? Well, it's about 3% less than household spending in other developed countries. So China spends a lot less on their water than people in other countries. How might higher pricing lead to water-saving behavior? Well, I know that my husband and I, when we get a high water bill, we look at it and we evaluate, okay, what did we do differently this month? Why is the water bill so high? Is it that it's really hot outside and we let the kids run through the sprinklers? Is it that we had a water leak and we need to get something fixed? Is it that we took really long showers? Like, why is the water bill higher? And then we evaluate, is that something that we need to fix? Are we okay with paying the higher price? And we make a decision. So we might choose to save more water. Like maybe run the sprinklers once a week instead of 5 days a week in order to save money. It's up to the prices and what we feel comfortable with. And it's the same thing in China. If they're having to spend more money on water, they might look at the ways they use it to reduce their usage. Number 4, why has the Chinese government been cautious about increasing the price of water? Well, think about it. When our government does things we don't like, we protest. We complain. China's trying to avoid that. They don't want social unrest. And then number 5, once again, that is your opinion. That's your argument. And I'm not going to give you an answer for that because that is up to you.